Antlers, Assumptions, and Artillery. Latecomers to the VR session, so this should have been up at least a half hour earlier. It takes him only a few minutes to make the drop. It only took so long because he would brace his fall now and again by catching himself with the railing so he wouldn't kick up so much speed that he'd start whistling through the air as he falls. Each of the floors has a labeling on the outer part of the railing to tell him what level he's at. He misses 483 by 2 levels and has to start climbing up. Then freezes as a guard looks over the railing and quite literally right through him. Unfortunately for him, there is no truly perfect invisibility method, and it looks like whatever algorithm the program is using to determine whether he's spotted or not is saying that this guard can see the flaws. The simulated Tret brings her weapon around and he moves fast. He pulls up, grabs her around the face to muffle her scream, and extends his invisibility over her before pulling her down. The gun is sent flying and will hopefully clatter so far below that it will serve as a distraction. He instead pulls her into the next level down, puts her in a lock, and backs away from the edge. The slight bit of movement and sight kicks up a hornet's nest on the next level up, and some on this one. A few people rush over to watch the gun clatter far, far below. Perhaps it even reached the ground level. "All right, I'm going to be very, very plain with you, little lady," he says to the struggling figure in his arms. "I am here for Holly. Clatterhooves, this can be scary but non-lethal, or this can be hyper-lethal. I'm sure you don't need any elaboration as to which option your cooperation earns." The struggling slowly dies down. "All right then, I'm going to give you one chance to talk to me and not become a casualty. Stay calm, stay quiet. No louder than a whisper. Understand?" The holographic enemy nods in his grip. "Good, now!" She screams for help the moment he releases her, and he snaps her neck before hurling the body over the small crowd, so it suddenly appears in midair as it begins its fall. He moves away from where the scream came from, but several girls can see the distortion he's making. It's different from Yaoya cloaking that bends the light, or the more advanced stuff where you're out of phase and the light doesn't touch you. He hates that one. It leaves you blind, and you need another trick just to see. His causes the light to teleport to the opposite side of where it's hitting, which generally is a very, very good stealth. But it has a tell. There is a slight distortion that becomes more obvious if you can move around the invisible item or person. There's a very slight gap in things, and if you move fast enough, then you can outright make out the person's outline. He shifts, and at the speed he moves, they lose track of him, but he has been spotted to an extent. A panic is kicked up, and the guards on the proper level start kicking things into high gear. Unfortunately for them, Axiom Stealth was just him playing around. He has other ways of getting in. He uses the stairs up to level 484 and braces himself against the railing to grab a guard on the top of the head, and then lifts them both back up and onto the next level. Unfortunately, he can't get around the mouth, so she screams loud and clearly, but he manages to grab her weapon and quickly frisk her. "Shut up, or..." She pulls a pistol on him, and there's a quick snap as he twists her head almost the entire way around before pitching the body over the side. He then checks the weapon and frowns. Poorly made, poorly maintained, and clearly a fucking garage chop job. But it's a solid enough. A small platoon of guards finally crest the stairs, and he decides that stealth can go fuck itself and fades into full visibility. He deliberately bypasses parts of the laser system and forces extra axiom in. The beam of the weapon carves through all 5 approaching guards at waist height, and they die screaming. Thankfully, shock kills them before blood loss does. He walks up and retrieves all their weapons, more chop shop lasers. Pipes with fucking glass and a trigger with axiom. The sort of shit that would get you laughed out of a convention on Earth, but somehow functional on Zalwar. He puts them all into a bundle and tucks them under his left arm. A bit of walking, and he's opposite of the place where the guards are patrolling. "To all guards keeping me from my target," he calls out, "I am here on a mission of rescue and extraction, and I offer you this first and final chance to walk away." They're well below the counterweight now, so there's no missing sight of him. But there's plenty of missing him as is. Mostly because he knows when to duck, when to shimmy, and when to weave. "Who the hell do you think you are?" one of the guards demands, and a movie flashes through his mind. I am the warrior of the wastes, the Ayatollah of rock and rolla, the Lord Humongous, he calls back while carefully, very carefully, keeping a smile off his face. What? One of them demands. I am here for one thing and one thing alone. Holly Clatterhooves, those that step aside to allow me to collect her and leave, shall be spared. All others shall die in a manner most gruesome. So saith Lord Humongous. It is now very hard to stop himself from bursting into laughter. He had wanted to scout out the area, get her location, and cut the floor out from under her. But he hasn't tried straight-up intimidation before. There is a sensation of movement, and he reaches out and grabs a Cloaken by the face even as she rushes in. Her knife scores a line along his arm, but he thankfully senses the blow and reinforces the skin just enough to not be carved like a Christmas ham. He rams the woman's head into the railing with an echoing gong, and then as the woman fades into visibility, he pitches the unconscious form over the side and into the yawning abyss. No one says anything as he maintains the gaze of the ever-growing number of guards. They flinch as the body hits the floor far below with a crunch and a splat. In my generosity, I have now given you ample time to weight your options. I am going for Holly now. You understand the agreement. Those who wish to live must leave. He then begins walking slowly, moving until he's at the level just above, tucking two of the chop shop lasers into his belt on each side as he goes and holding the last one in a more stable and functional position. When he reaches just above where the guards are, he stomps once, then twice, then a third time. Each stomp had more and more axiom, and the last one collapses the floor under him until he falls down onto the next level in a shower of dust and rubble. A laser blast lances out at him and burns away the holographic jacket sleeve. He walks out using his wrist against the constant beam of energy until he reaches the woman firing it. He grabs the weapon and reduces it to crushed scrap, then presses his appropriated laser into her face and fires. The corpse falls to the floor with a hole clean through the forehead. Who else stands in the way of the Lord Humongous? He demands. Half of them run. He lets them go. The ones who are stuck staring are ignored, and the few that fire their lasers at him do no harm, but draw him closer and closer until their weapons are shattered and bodies filled with burnt holes from laser fire of his own. He could just shoot them from his position, but doing it so closely has a breaking effect as more and more of the terrified opponents break and start to run. His boot meets the reinforced door they were protecting, and he's impressed it resists the first booting, although the frame around the door has clearly been rocked. So he kicks again, harder. The shriek of tearing metal, the fast beat of bangs as the door goes flying, followed by a crash as it embeds itself into the next door and takes it off its hinges to collapse into the room beyond. A figure jumps him and eats a laser beam right to the torso. It then ignores it, and it eats the laser gun to the torso as he rams the weapon clean into the synthetic felly and breaks it off before ramming what he broke off through the head. He throws the body away, and the remaining woman in the room has her hands up and is trying to merge with the wall behind her. He tilts his head a little and asks a question. Holly Clatterhooves is? He asks, and she points down the way the door he kicked in cleared for him. Thank you. A woman waiting with a knife has him catch the wrist and redirect it into her stomach, lifts her up via the knife to make sure it sticks, and she stops moving. He then pulls out the knife and doesn't even open the door to the next room as he senses out where the next enemy is. He rams the knife through the wall closely, followed by the hand holding it, to impale his next enemy through the spine. There are screams from the room as he reaches through the room entirely, grabs the dying woman around the neck and pulls the body through the hole that's too small for it. There are crunching sounds. Whether it's the bones or the hole cracking wider is unclear, and probably a bit of both, to be honest. Leave and live. He calls into the next room and there is silence. A weapon pointed at me is what will make me attack. Simply stay out of my way and you will be unharmed. He then opens the next door and no one dares to open fire on him. He then points to one of the doors. Clatterhooves? There is a nod in response, and he thanks the woman before finding the door locked. He pulls it out of the frame and sets it to the side. Inside is the holographic Holly, who is unconscious and in special bindings. As he reaches for the bindings, there is a pop-up with a blue box. There is no way to wake her up. She is programmed only to sleep. Winning is carrying her out unharmed. It reads, and he nods before picking her up bridal style. There is a dead silence as he walks out of the small compound, and for a moment considers things. Then he heads for the stairs and starts climbing up. For some godforsaken reason, there is a soft soundtrack as his steady pace takes him up floor after floor. After a few minutes of climbing, there is the sound of boots on the stairwell, and his response is to sit hologram Holly somewhere safe, and he steps out while pulling out a laser rifle from each side. All right, everyone to me in an orderly fashion, and I'll send you to your ancestors. There is a pause at that little announcement. Then explosions from above, as their solution to him moving upwards is to blow the stairs. He grabs Hollow Holly and escapes the stairwell before things can continue. All right, fine. We do this the ridiculous way. He then rushes for the railing and jumps onto it before jumping hard. He starts skipping levels until he takes a moment and then tucks the rifles back into his belt and then makes one last massive jump until he lands on the side of the counterweight and starts racing right up it. It lets him eat the last 200 levels with ease until he reaches the one he entered on. The security officer outright cowers under her desk as he approaches and then attunes himself to the Proton once more. You can tell them I threatened you. It's true at any rate. Then he's on the outside and he walks over to the side of the building and steps off. He can't fly with Axiom. He tends to more throw himself around. But he can slow his fall and control it, turning it into a stately glide away from the arcology and into the blizzard surrounding it. Mission complete. I was hoping for a subtle run, but that was still plenty fun. He notes to himself as he floats into the snow beyond, and then the holograms deactivate, and he's in midair in the middle of the room. He lands and then steps out to see Magala and Ashina there. I didn't know I would have an audience. Should have set some seats up,